What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to another series of The Entrepreneur's Dilemma. Like always, my name is Tobe Ezife. I'm an entrepreneur and business owner, and the purpose of this series is to share stories and experiences from entrepreneurs from different backgrounds, particularly around their mistakes and their struggles on their journey. And exactly how they overcame these struggles as well. So today I'm super pumped up today. I'm super pumped up today because I have a good friend named Mark, and I've known this guy for quite some time now. He's a very good guy, good energy, and a six-figure entrepreneur. So today, you guys take notes. He's going to be talking about his story. He's going to be sharing about a lot of challenges that he went through and even giving some tips on how to build a business. So I'm not going to say too much, but I'm going to introduce the guy. I'm going to allow him to take the stage here. So, Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. How are you getting on, Toby?
So you take the stage. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you started your journey on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so my name is Mark Fox, and I am an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember. It's been a long journey to where I am now, but my business right now is a drone service provider. So what I do is I mainly work with construction companies and real estate companies, and I go out on site, take video and photographs using my drone, and then they use it for the likes of reports or for progress, all sorts of stuff, inspections, surveys, that sort of stuff. So for myself, I've been, I think it's 3 years, like 3 years plus kind of working on my business, and have been full-time with it for 3 years. So it kind of started with, when I was growing up, I would do little small businesses here and there, but I always have like a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit for different types of business. Like I set up a YouTube channel way back when, made money on that through a partnership. It was gaming related, and then I used the money for that to build kind of a small clothing company making caps. And I've always been kind of delved into business and always had an interest with it. So what I did with my current business, I essentially was working full-time with a corporate job. It was sales, and I didn't really like it because it was kind of the 9 to 5. I just knew it wasn't for me. But what actually the benefit was that I actually bought my drone while working there. So it was actually good because, you see, the thing is, there was a good quote that I think Steve Jobs had, that you can't connect the dots going forwards, you can only connect the dots going backwards. And when I look back on that, having bought my drone, starting kind of my journey there on what I would end up doing a few years later, there's kind of some of these things you kind of just have to go with the flow, and then sometimes you can go, geez, if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So what happened was, got the drone, got my qualifications with my license, but then I was kind of going, okay, well, now I need to figure out a way to go from full-time 9 to 5 to going into my own business. So I made the decision to go back to work in a retail shop that I'd worked with a few years prior. And then what I do is I'd work on my business in the evening times. So then, I'd work a shift, maybe 6-hour shift or something like that. I'd come home and then I'd work throughout the night, sometimes till like, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not saying that everybody has to do that, but I knew that that's what I had to do in order to, get to where I wanted to be. I did that for a couple of months. Got the first contract, and when I got my first contract with the drone, I left my job working part-time and then moved full-time into the drone, and I've been doing it for 3 years. So that's kind of a brief.
You've thrown a lot of things there, and I'm going to take you back to where you even first started, okay? You said that you've always had the spirit for entrepreneurship from a very young age. Where did this spirit come from? Were your parents entrepreneurs? Did you have brothers or sisters that were entrepreneurs? Where did that come from?
Well, I suppose I feel like you're kind of born an entrepreneur. Like it's in you, kind of. Like there is some people that prefer the steadiness of a 9 to 5 job, and there's some people that just inherently like the risk of, you know, running their own business. Like my dad is a painter and decorator, you know, my uncle is a builder, you know, there's loads, like my cousin is a sound engineer. Other cousins are like performers, yeah, musicians, artists. So I suppose it kind of is in my blood that, you know, a lot of, you know, direct family and some friends actually like run their own business. But in regards to my family specifically, a lot of them are kind of, you know, are self-employed or didn't go down the conventional route. So potentially I'll probably pick that up along the way. But yeah, I've always had it in me to be like, what can I do? Is it setting up a YouTube channel? You know, how can I, you know, maybe make a bit of money off of it? Then, okay, well, where do I, you know, like not taking that money and then spending it on, you know, something like a watch, or, you know, I'm not saying that you obviously can reward yourself and stuff like that, but I was kind of like, I'm not at that stage yet. What do I do with the money that I've made? Okay, maybe I'll make some caps, and, you know, kind of, I think it's always been, what's the next thing? You know, what can I challenge myself with next? So yeah, from that point of view, I probably got it from, you know, being around people that were, you know, doing something different maybe.
And how did you transition into drone? How did you transition to that? Is this something that you always had the flair of, or were you looking for something that was good in the market or was profitable in the market? How did you?
Yeah. I remember seeing a Top Gear episode where they were flying over loads of cars and it was really low. And I was like, oh my God, imagine if you could put a camera on a small device. And like my initial thought was, can I build something like that? But then when I got this job and they actually were taking on a drone distribution, you know, for an American drone maker, I was like, okay, well, this is definitely something that I want to get involved. This is something that a few years ago I only was thinking this could be cool. I didn't know anything about drones. And then when I seen it, I was like, okay, I have to get one. Because I've always been, like, I did graphic design in college, so I've always been kind of maybe on the artsy side of business, like always something creative, or, you know, something that I can make. And video and photographs is, you know, kind of down that route. So I was like, how can I take the drone, make something creative out of it, and then and make it a service that I can offer people. And yeah, like, especially if you see any of my drone videos for construction companies, it's not the standard video. It's very like kind of like a promo. Every video is a promo. It's kind of because I know they're going to use it as kind of a promotion for their construction company too. So yeah, like that's kind of my interest. I do enjoy it. Like I got a drone there at Christmas for a separate drone, a smaller one for flying, just for fun. So, you know, I definitely, like, I enjoy doing it as a pastime, and I do enjoy doing it as a job as well.
And can you discuss some of the challenges you had? Because you said you went back to your previous job and started working 6-hour shifts.
Yeah.
And then after that time, you would go home and work on your business till like 3, 4. Can you explain challenges you had there? Because when I started my journey in entrepreneurship, like, I still have my 9-to-5 job currently. And when I first started, I used to have this problem where my mind couldn't handle the different skill sets that I had to apply to these different roles.
Yeah.
So can you explain how, did you just switch it on? Like, okay, this is business, switch it on. Okay, this is work. How did you do that?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good question, because it is hard. It definitely is hard. I think the best thing I think I can say would be is just to think of what you're working for. What are you working towards? Like, you know, as in, say for example, like years ago, I used to do boxing, and
you know that.
yeah, I know, man of many talents. But I did boxing, and when I would go into the club, there was a guy that was just, he was the fittest guy in the gym. He could outrun, out skip, out push up, out sit up, everything. He just would. And I was like, okay, if he does 20 push-ups, I'm doing 20 push-ups. If he does 50 push-ups, I'm doing 50. If he runs that fast, I'm running that fast. And I think that's been my mentality, and that's a mentality that I think is crucial in regards to winning a business, because the reason why I kind of make that comparison is because even when I went to work, I would do my, say, 6-hour shift, come home, and then I would sit down at my computer and go, even if I'm feeling tired right now, I'm pushing through it because someone else is. Someone else is pushing through that. Someone else is putting together a plan. They're putting together, you know, how they're going to build their business and how they're going to succeed. And I said, well, if someone else can do it, I can do it. And I'm going to push through this. And I know, going back to my point on knowing that you're working towards something, you know that by putting in those hours, even though they're tiring, they're, you know, it can feel really long, tiresome, you just feel like giving up. But if you just push through it, you know, instead of working, you know, that job for the rest of your life, you know that if you put in those couple of hours in the evening for a couple of weeks, couple of months, you can get to where you want to be. And where you want to be is so much more rewarding than where you are right now. So if you go, okay, well, it's going to be tough, and it's going to beat you down, and it's going to want you to just give up. But if you just keep pushing through it, the reward is, say, for example, instead of me working where I was, even in my corporate job, now I enjoy freedom of flexibility of when I choose to work, who I choose to work with, you know, even down to like the holidays I take, or like, not saying that like it's like really expensive holidays or anything like that, by no means, but by having the flexibility of choosing the time and the date and the, you know, all those things, those are the rewards that you get from putting in those. So I think my message to anybody that is in a 9-to-5 job right now, that is trying to, you know, get out of that 9-to-5 job and work on a business, yes, there will be sacrifices. Yes, there will be hard work, but always think towards the end goal. What are you working towards? Picture that, and that will help you get through it. Like, it will always get you through it.
Oh, do you have any, now that what you've said is very important, very, very important. But what I want to know again is, are there any things you did? Did you have like mentors that you looked at and be like, oh, he did it, can I do it? Like the same guy in the gym, you know? Did you have someone that you were looking up to? Did you have any skills? Did you have any kind of, did you perform any kind of visualization? Did you have your dream place, your dream house, where you wanted to be? What are those little things that people don't know that they can do that will help them to overcome these challenges?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think anybody, if you can look at your friend network or your extended friend network and look for a mentor, somebody that you can bounce questions off with. Like for me, the person that I bounced questions off the most with was people that my mom worked with. So like MDs or managers or anybody, because the reason for that is because like that, I would be in there a good bit, you know, even in the early days with work experience or anything like that. And then I kind of grew up in that environment, and I would always talk to the MD in there that would, you know, would have a wealth of knowledge of how to build a business. They went from a few people to one of the biggest IT companies in Ireland. And just like, I think the best thing for anybody is, even if you don't like have a mentor or anybody, just like that, look at your direct friend network and look out from their friend network. And then if you find somebody, just ask questions. Like if you have an idea, just put it out there. Don't be afraid, because I think a lot of times people are like, I'm afraid to say this, don't want to sound silly, I don't want to put myself out there and be rejected, or, you know, if you just find somebody that has some experience, that's, you know, a bit more experienced than yourself at that stage of your business. Look for somebody that has maybe a few more years, and then those people will be able to give you wealth of knowledge that, like, every time I had an idea, I would just say it to them and see what they thought. I would look for criticism or constructive feedback is key. Like, the one thing that I've always, like, myself been very good at accepting is constructive feedback. Because if you say, okay, here's my idea, and as soon as I tell somebody an idea, I want to know why they think it could be a good idea and why they think it could be a bad idea. Because you need to collect all that information and then put something together, because you don't want somebody to say, that's a great idea, and then you spend 6 months, and then at the end of the 6 months you realize something, and then you've not wasted, obviously you're going to learn stuff along that way, but you could have been focusing your time on something else. Do you know? So I think always put your ideas out there, ask people that are you know, more experienced in business, and like generally they'll give you their honest opinion, and then you can learn from that. Like, it's a constant learning process, you know. So I think that's, I didn't have anybody essentially that I've, like, you know, called up all the time, or, you know, it was like if I was ever in the office or something like that, and or, you know, came across them, or in a training session or something, you know, if our paths cross paths, I would always ask. And if even like even if somebody doesn't have a mentor in that sense, even if you're at a party or if you're with friends and you know somebody that is in business and you want, just ask questions, just put it all out there, don't be afraid, I think is the main thing.
Okay. And can you share, like, some of the major challenges that you had? I know you've talked about how you had to work overtime, like, you know, from your normal job, and then spend some hours into the day from night working on your business. Can you share some of the, like, let's just say three major challenges that you had when you first started up, and how you overcame these challenges?
Yeah, well, I'd say probably, like, money is definitely, like, finances is definitely one of the challenges, because when you're starting your own business, it's really kind of, you need to also be financially sound. Like, I was definitely at that stage working paycheck to paycheck, and had to be that's the reason why I went into part-time, so that I would essentially still have income coming in while I could work on my business in the evenings. But, like, I think that's one of the biggest challenges, was definitely, you know, the likes of money. Another one probably would be, you know, even though I had friends, family, you know, people that were in business, I think having I didn't have anybody that was in, say, the media space, in the sense of film, TV, that sort of stuff. So I think kind of one of the challenges was learning that industry, you know, kind of, do I target film companies, or do I target, you know, TV, or do I target the likes of construction, real estate? Kind of learning, you know, a new craft essentially was a big challenge. And then third challenge, I think the third challenge would be self-discipline. So I think, do you know the fact that, you know, when you go to a job and you have a manager, the manager is guiding you. It's he or she is saying, we need to get this project done, or this project done, or we need to hit this target, or we need to meet this deadline. Where when you work for yourself, you don't have that. It's you know, it's the work that you put in that you get out, you know. So I think self-discipline is definitely a challenge that I faced.
Self-discipline. And how did you manage? So with finances and not knowing your market and discipline, implementing these three things, how, like, right now I see that you've probably mastered these things now. You know your market, your self-discipline, And well, finances, we can't be, let's not talk numbers here, but I know you're doing well for yourself. So like, for example, with finances, how did you manage that? Was it solely have to, is that the reason why you went back to you did the shift with your other job part time, just to have something coming in, and then you saved up something?
Yeah, it's about, exactly. So kind of making decisions. Obviously, it's a sacrifice to do something like that because all you want to do is focus on your business. But when you look at your finances and say, okay, well, I can't realistically leave my job and then, have no money and then eventually have to then go back to the full-time job, because what I wanted to make sure was, if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure I make a success of it. Of course, sometimes things are a success and some things aren't. But in order for me to be able to, trial run it or to see if it was going to be viable, I said, okay, well, if I want to do this, I'm going to have some sort of finances coming in, and taking that part-time job definitely helped me, achieve that. So I was able to make enough money to get me by, but that it wouldn't like bankrupt me, not like in the formal sense, but, that it wouldn't put me back into working a 9-to-5 job again, because like there definitely was an option for me to go back, but I was like, no, I'll sometimes there's people feel like they have to go all in. I'm going to go all in on this and I'm going to risk it all. Like, definitely, I am a risk taker. I really enjoy risk. It's something that I actually do enjoy. But that being said as well, you have to be responsible. I think being responsible, like taking responsible risks, knowing that the risk that you take won't end everything. Like, it won't put you in a bad financial position. It won't compromise. Like, you don't want to also compromise stuff like meeting with friends and that sort of stuff, because that's good for your mental health. Like, you don't want to have to go to the point where, okay, well, I'm going to risk it all and then I'm just going to stay in a room all the time and not see your friends, not socialize, that sort of stuff. Obviously, right now we're all virtually meeting up with each other and but definitely, like, you want to be able to keep a healthy balance. You don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole and then realize, okay, well, something might not have worked out, that contract might not have come through, or you might not have made that sale, and then that puts you in a position where you have to go all the way back. So like, taking small steps and judging it along the way is definitely, like, there is sometimes where things will pick up quick, but I think make sure you put yourself in a good position that you're not going to have to go backwards,
Okay. And the aspect of self-discipline, which is very tough, which is very tough. How did you manage that? Was this something that you already had, even in your 9-to-5 job, and you just transferred those skills into your business? Is it something that you maybe with, or is something you had to learn new?
I'd say there probably was an element of it. Like, I definitely learned through, like, sometimes I would, like, my last job was a sales job, and I took that because I was like, I want to learn some of the skills that are involved in selling and kind of that sort of stuff. Because sometimes people feel like, oh, well, I'm going to set up my business and I'm not going to, get a job here, job there. Sometimes I actually took strategic choices in order to learn things before going into my business. So yeah, that I would pick up some of those habits. But I think a lot of it is what I used to do, and something that I would suggest everybody do, especially when you're starting out, is when you sit down, have a book, like a copybook or a journal or something like that, and have it that you write down your tasks that you want to achieve in the day. And then as you do them, tick them off, because you're doing two things there. You're actually giving yourself, that like accomplishment. You feel productive. Like, when you look back at the end of the day and you see if you've ticked a few things off your list, that's good for your moral, like your morale. You're going to boost your morale, and you're going to feel better, and you're going to feel like you can take on the next day. You're like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to crush it again. Also, what it does is it keeps you on track. So that's going into the whole aspect of keeping disciplined. If you write it down, you can see it. If you don't write it down, you can go on YouTube and fall down the rabbit hole of watching videos. So if you write it down, biggest thing, write it down, make a list, tick it off, you're boosting your morale. And then if you can't get to it, don't feel down on yourself, just move it to the next day. And then then at the end of your, say, work day of your business, write down the tasks the next day. You can add to that the following day, but at least when you sit down and you're ready to start the day, you already have 2 or 3 tasks to do, and then you get the ball rolling.
Nice.
So it's just structure.
Nice. I like that.
I've been a very I've been a very process driven person always. I always go, okay, how can I get to A to Z or achieve this goal in the the most efficient way possible? So definitely writing things down helps you keep disciplined 100%.
I agree. And how important is having the board?
The board?
This is just a random question I just thought, because I see your board over there. How important is having the board?
It definitely is. Yeah, having a board is good. I know there's nothing on this one now, but this one actually, actually funny enough, I have a whiteboard, and I think whiteboards are perfect because I actually don't have mine up on the wall, but I have a whiteboard because I think what's really freeing about having a whiteboard is writing it down and being able to scribble it out and go again. And it's kind of like a brain dump. Like a lot of the times we get in our heads and we can feel, oh, can't do that because I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this. If you just go, okay, wipe the whiteboard off, write it all down, and then you have everything that's in your head on the board, and then you can work on it. Then you can then transfer it to your copybook and make a plan. This board here is kind of like, I'm going to use it for printing maybe quotes off, like anything that you can put something visual. Like that. I'm planning on putting maybe to-do lists or little post-its or motivational quotes, because I feel like when you're working on your business, again, it's in your head, it's your ideas, you're trying to mold those ideas into something tangible. So anything that puts it on a board, puts it on a copybook, it gets it from an idea to a plan. You're then putting a plan in place rather than just having it in your head. Like if you ever have an idea, write it down. If you want to achieve something, even if it's the end goal, write down your end goals and how do you get there, So yeah, having something visual is key.
I like that. I really like that. I think it's very important because that happens to me a lot, where in my head I think I have so many things to do, but the minute I just write them down, like I can do this, I can do that, I can, it just puts a bit of structure to those things,
Oh yes,
that's very, very important.
Key. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you feel yourself when you tick the first task off, you're like, you get into a rhythm then. Okay, I'll do the next one. Okay, perfect. Get the next one done. Yeah, it's a good way to work.
And another thing I wanted to ask you is about lifestyle changes. Now, before entrepreneurship and after or during entrepreneurship, has there been any lifestyle changes or habits that you've had to gain or throw away, now that you've started your journey in entrepreneurship?
Yeah, well, lifestyle changes. Yeah, I suppose the biggest one, is freedom. I know it can be glamorized, especially in the day and age of Instagram ads and social media ads, where you might be scrolling and next minute it's like, oh, I work from my laptop on a beach in Bali, or, you see a lot of that. But the thing is, there's a lot of real stuff that happens before you can get to, that level. Like there's a lot of struggles, and I think freedom is definitely a lifestyle change that has happened, but it's because I worked really hard. I did work till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I did then get back up and go work on my part-time job and rinse repeat. And there was a lot of those days. I remember specifically, the one thing that I remember specifically was I was in my car and the car was off. There was nobody there. This is one thing that stood out in my mind, and it'll always stand out in my mind. And I sat there and I just had this moment where I was thinking to myself, and I was like, Mark, what are you doing? You know, it was like, am I making the right decision? Should I be trying to, you know, do something else? Like, what was it? Am I on the right path? And there is a lot of that happens a lot when you're an entrepreneur and working on your own business. You do question yourself, and there is a lot of hard times where you're like, will I be able to make this work? Is it, you know, maybe like that, putting in the extra hours, some sacrifices, maybe not going on the holidays, you know, making sacrifice in regards to, you know, like a lot of things, like, you know, that you maybe wouldn't have had to do if you were working, you know, a corporate job. But the reward is the freedom, the being able to choose your own hours, choose, you know, how you work, when you work, you know, that isn't after, like, that's something that as a reward for all the work that you've done. So yeah, the lifestyle change for me is freedom, but it is definitely a great thing, but a lot of work went into achieving that, and people need to realize that too. But don't take it in a bad way, take it in a good way, that if you put in the work, just like somebody that's training for a marathon, if you put in the work training for that marathon and you come out with a record time for even just for yourself, you've achieved that. So put in the work with your business, and then you will achieve something that will allow you to have certain things like freedom and you know, and a bit more flexibility in how you work. So it's definitely worth it.
I like that. Wow. Freedom, that's what most people want in this life, right?
Yeah.
Honest, you know. So
Yeah, that's true.
anyways, another question I wanted to ask, which is a very, very important question. I always ask entrepreneurs this. Do you get rejections and disappointment in your business? Which obviously everyone does, I suppose. And
yeah.
how do you handle them?
So yeah, like rejections, definitely. Like, sure, isn't there like a mountain amount of examples of people going to, you know, like McDonald's, how many times they failed until they made a success. J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter, how many times she pitched Harry Potter to publishers and failed. I think the best way is to believe in yourself, because, you know, there obviously will be people along the way that will believe you, family, friends, loved ones, you know, that will believe in you. But I think believing in yourself to push through those setbacks. So like, say for example, experiences that I would have had is if I pitched my services to somebody and they said, I don't need it. You know, if you thought to yourself, oh, well, 5 people said that they don't need my service, obviously no one needs my service. But that's not true, because somebody does. Like, and you need to realize that and say to yourself, okay, well, it's going to be tough. There will be people that might say, oh, I don't need that, or that's too expensive, or not right now, or you lost out to a competitor or something like that. But I think the best way to deal with it is just accept it. This is going to happen. It's part of the process. I might not have won that job, but I'll win the next one, and I'll work hard and I'll keep pushing through it. So being graceful in defeat, like if you see any of the big top fighters, boxing, UFC, like the people that lose and lose gracefully are the people you respect the most. Yeah, exactly. So like if you say, for example, don't win a business deal, just say to the person, like the way I would have said, look, that's perfectly fine. Maybe we'll work with each other down the road, or maybe let me know, you know, if you're not interested right now, let me know if you will be in the future. Just handle it in a graceful way, and it will work out. Because if you kind of get defeated and say no one needs this, or no one wants my product, or whatever, you will eventually kind of let yourself believe that. But if you say to yourself, okay, I didn't win this one, but I will win the next one, I think. And also being respectful. You know, if you don't win a contract with someone, or somebody doesn't buy a product off you, and you act out, go, oh, this, you know, whatever, you know, that person won't recommend you to the next person. But if you are like, perfect, that's completely fine, you know what, we'll work together in the future, or keep us in mind in future, that person will be like, do you know what, that person was nice. Even if I don't need their services or product, I might recommend it to a friend or a family member or something. You know, always be graceful and be respectful, and it will definitely work out in the long run. So.
That is really good advice. I actually now taking some advice from that, because you said a lot of things there. I wonder if your experience at your sales job helped you pitch your ideas to people. Did it come in handy?
Maybe, like, I think probably when I worked in Apple in the retail store, and probably from that experience more than the corporate one, because the corporate one was very target driven, and it was very kind of like, you know, it was a bit more kind of full on, where with Apple it was more like, our products are great, let me show you the features and benefits, and then that person would then make up their mind on the, you know, the device maybe that they wanted, or maybe look at kind of what options they had based on those features and benefits. But I think more with the corporate side is more like target driven, so you're kind of under pressure more, where like that the customer in the Apple store is more making the decision for personally, and then also with the corporate side it's more like they're making a decision for an entire business or corporation, and they would have to get sign off, and so there's a bit more kind of moving parts. But I feel like, yeah, certain aspects of pitching, but I feel like when you work on your own business, it's more like you want to help somebody else. So you know that your product is 100% you, and you know all the features and benefits of it, so you're kind of pitching it in that sense more than, oh, I need to hit this target. Of course everybody wants to hit a target, everybody wants to hit a certain number, and it will, like, you know, they want to increase it and stuff personally, but I think it's more on the basis of, let me show you how I can help you, and then it goes from there. So the conversation is a little bit different, but yeah, like obviously you want to set yourself targets and reach those targets too, but I think it is more from, let me show you how my product or service can help you, you know, in that sense. So yeah, it does work, it does help, like, but you can kind of pick the parts that are relevant and kind of apply them.
Cool. Wow, Mark, thank you for that. That's amazing. That's really
glad.
Trust me, I am soaking up a lot of knowledge right now.
Good.
So another question I wanted to ask is with regards to personal and self-development. Now, you've mentioned one aspect, which is discipline. Did you have to read books? I mean, I don't mean on the technical aspect, just on the self-development aspect. Did you have to learn to become a better version of yourself for your business? Yeah. How was this process, and how important was it?
Yeah, definitely. You know what I actually used to do, and I kind of had forgot about it a bit until you brought up the question, but I actually used to, even if I was, you know, making breakfast, or if I was about to work on my business, I would listen to motivational speeches on YouTube. And a lot of people listen to these motivational speeches and kind of go, oh, that's just words. That's not going to help me. But what I was doing was, just like if you're learning a language or learning to ride a bike or anything that is a process of, when you know a language, or if you know how to ride a bike, you sit on that bike and you're just like, this is easy. Well, how couldn't I not know how to cycle this bike? And it's the same with a mindset. When you go to yourself, oh, I'm listening to these people talking about like how to be great, or how to get success, or achieve your goals, or master a skill. By soaking that in, you're changing your mindset from, you know, taking information in, processing it, and doing a job like you would with a manager in a 9 to 5. That manager gives you that information, you process it and do the job. Where when you're running your own business, you need to be the sole part of that business that's going to motivate yourself to achieve those goals. And I think by changing your mindset, by listening to these people over and over again, I used to listen to, it would be at least a half an hour of motivational speeches throughout the day. And eventually it was like an epiphany, or it was like one of these moments where it literally clicked. And then I went, I get it. I get it now. And just like riding your bike or learning a language, you get to a point where you go, I get it now. I understand it. I can do it without thinking. And that's what happened. As soon as I had just absorbed, just been a sponge and absorbed all this information from all these videos. And as soon as I got as much out of it, and I went, it makes sense, you know, changing your mindset from where you are now to where you want to be. And it sounds so salesy. It sounds like, it's this mystical thing, but it really does work. If you listen to people that have succeeded and these people that have grown their business or their experiences, it's a wealth of knowledge. Like I said earlier, you absorb it all in like a sponge, and you then start to carry yourself differently. You start to attack your business in a different way. You put in processes, strategies, you start to learn it. And definitely that was the biggest thing that helped me, like in regards to learning before, you know, really taking my business to the next level. And that's the reason why, so my next business, obviously at the moment I'm running my drone business, but with everything now, I can't actually go out there and fly, obviously because of the lockdown and everything that's happening at the moment. But I'm setting up a digital marketing business, and then my own coaching business. So I'm doing business and marketing coaching, and I feel like I could, you know, any kind of bit of knowledge that I've gained, I want to be passing that on to the people that were in my position, like that, starting off the business. Because I think absorbing that information, absorbing that knowledge, even if you feel like, oh well, that product or that service doesn't relate to me, if you absorb it in and you learn from these people that have done it before you, you will definitely see the benefits, because it just clicks, and then you go, I get it, I'm on the right path, or you know, your vision becomes more laser focused. So yeah, it's
powerful, man.
It's powerful. Yeah,
really powerful. I really like that. Really like that. If there's anything I took out from this, that what you just said there was really powerful. I really like that.
Thanks, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and now let's talk about some interesting stuff. Let's talk about some mistakes.
Yes.
The bad mistakes. Can you share some of the mistakes you made, maybe early on, or even currently, or yesterday? Can you just share some of the mistakes that you've made that you'd be like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that in my business?
I think the biggest mistake, was, funny enough, it was on one of the points earlier from kind of when starting the business. And one of the mistakes probably was finances. Okay. So it's funny because finances was part of one of the struggles kind of getting into business. But I think finances then become, well, like in my case, what it became kind of almost a challenge or a mistake for me was when I started earning more money through my business, I wasn't like super kind of responsible in the sense of, okay, well, you know, with a normal 9-to-5 job, you would be almost guaranteed your check every month. Where with me, it wasn't guaranteed because I was working off contracts or, you know, the next contract. And when things started getting good, I was a little bit, you know, reckless, you know, not like super reckless. Like I wasn't off buying Ferraris or nothing, not at that level yet. But, you know, I wasn't mindful. And I think that was one of the mistakes that I've definitely learned from, and I'm a lot better now. You know, I think when you're working for yourself and you start making a little bit of money, don't necessarily think that, you know, okay, well, now I'm making this amount, I can spend this amount. It's not the same, you know, when you're if you get a pay increase in your job, that pay increase stands going forward. So you know, if you do have a good month, remember you can also have a bad month. So so what I've done is been definitely more mindful about how I spend my money, and then saving is a big thing. So when you make a bit of money, always remember to save for you always hear it, the rainy day. Always save for a rainy day. And as you can see now, geez, this is the rainy day. So because I've learned from that mistake, and that definitely happened in the first year or two, I learned from that, and now because I'm better with my finances, when something like this happens, I'm in a better position.
Nice. Jesus, I was just staring up on that one.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, it is something that like, for sure, you see it everywhere. Like Mike Tyson, who was super rich and had all this money, and then spent it all, you know, and when he stopped fighting, you know, like, then the money isn't, you know, make as much money. So I think I'm fortunate in the sense that I caught it early, you know. Like if it was a few years time and I was making more money and it was more reckless, it could have been worse. But recognizing it early is key, and being a bit more mindful. So if anybody out there is setting up their own business, or, you know, working on their own business, growing it, make sure to be also financially savvy, to be putting a bit of money away. Only spend what you can actually afford to spend. And you'll be, you know what, it's a lot more reassuring for yourself, because if you know that you have savings, or if you know you're not being reckless with your money, you're not going to take deals or give discounts to the point where you stop making money. Because say, for example, if you were spending recklessly and then you get a potential client and you have to maybe settle for a certain amount, you take that job or you sell that product for a price that probably wouldn't normally make sense. You start losing money on that deal, and then you put yourself in an awkward position where if you had your finances in order, you can then say, no, actually that deal doesn't make sense to me. I'm not going to take that deal because it won't make me money. You can be in more of a comfortable position to turn down work and not take work that is not going to help your bottom line. It's actually going to put you in a worse position. It gives you that flexibility, so you can work with people or sell your product at a price that you're comfortable with, if you are comfortable with your own finances. Because it's like a foundation to a building. The foundation is good, and then you can build the building better and stronger, do you know?
Cool. Wow, some nice nuggets there. So another question I wanted to ask was, I think I already know the answer to this, but if you had to do it all over again, if you had to start all over again, would you? Of course you would.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you start at an earlier age though? Let me ask.
Well, I suppose I've been starting, like, I've been doing it since, like, I've been setting up businesses,
transitioning between things, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, like, I think I would have liked that, going back to connecting the dots, looking backwards. You can't connect them going forwards. I think by me taking those corporate jobs and working the way I did work, learning these things throughout the years definitely helped me. So I think, I think I probably would have done it all, like, the same again, you know, like working those corporate jobs. See, the thing is, I think if I didn't work the corporate jobs and learn that I don't want this is not what I want. I want to work for myself. I want to grow my own business. You know, you can only really appreciate that when you go through something bad. You know, like,
Mm.
I feel like everybody needs to work a retail job to know what it feels like. Do you know, also for respect as well, do you know, like for companionship, to learn about people. Do you know, like when you work in a retail store, the amount of people that come through that store, you meet everybody, like so many different personality types, and you learn so much from that. So like working a retail job, I learned, like, you know, so many people skills. Then move into a corporate job, like you learn maybe email and you know how to conduct a like a good email, or you know, certain things that you might not think are good skills to have, but being in these environments, you definitely learn those things more than, you know, experience. You know, experience, you're going to learn more than if you know, Googled how to write a good email. Do you know, if you worked at a corporate job and you sent 100 emails sometimes a day, you know, you get better at that very quick. So I think I would do it all the same again.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Cool. And what advice would you give people, people that are thinking about entrepreneurship, people that are not sure whether, you know, that are on the fence, should I do this? Should I not do this? Could I just stick in my job? What advice would you give those kind of people right now?
I'd say do your research first. So I think the biggest thing is kind of identify. So if you have an idea straight away, write it down. Then what you need to do is look to see, you know, is there anybody else doing this? You know, does anybody have this product or this service? If they do, who are they? Like, who are your competitors? Then once you have your competitors, what are they good at? What are they bad at? Then, you know, can I fill the void, you know, where maybe they're not doing as good a job? Will my product or service do better? If it can't, what other aspect can you go at it? Like, can you offer it at a better price, or you know, can you offer a higher level of customer service? What is different about your ideas, you know, for your service or product? What is different? And if you find that you can actually realistically achieve those things, it's definitely something worth pursuing. If you find yourself looking at it and going, oh, I can't offer it for that price, or I can't offer that feature or benefit, or, you know, I can't, you know, maybe offer that level of customer service because this person maybe has a whole support desk, or, you know, any reason. If you feel like you can do it better, you should do it. Give it a go. You know, like, don't be afraid. And then also, if you're at the point where you've done all your evaluations and you've gone, okay, this is something I want to do, and I've evaluated the current market, my competitors, what I want to do, what's going to differentiate me from everybody else, then start sharing that idea. I think a lot of times people are afraid then to share that idea and get feedback. So like, once you get the feedback, you'll quickly realize that, is this a good idea, or is it maybe more challenging than you originally? And also as well, even if it's something you still want to pursue, you will have more knowledge about what you need to focus on. So when you think of the idea, you write it all down. Obviously, when you say that to somebody else, they might have a different angle. They might go, oh, have you thought about this or this? Soak that all in, write it all down, and then reevaluate. If you find that it is too difficult, don't be afraid to say, okay, well, this was a good idea, but I want to focus my energy somewhere else, and then think of something else. Don't be afraid to also, you know, stop working on something because, you know, you've identified something that could be a real roadblock, because you often see it in Shark Tank or, you know, Dragon's Den, where somebody has worked on something for 5 or 10 years, burned through their entire life savings, taken out loads of money to fund it, and are in severe debt. And then the people are just saying, this isn't an idea that you should have pursued. I'm not saying that, oh, be afraid, you know, to take risk, but there is a certain level of risk that you do need to take, and you, like that, need to be more responsible in your kind of financial and well-being position, that you need to say to yourself, is this something worth doing? Because I don't want to put myself in a position where I do work on something for 5 or 10 years and I could have, and I knew, you see, the thing is as well, trust your gut. Sometimes people go against what their gut is telling them, and their gut is saying, oh, but look, you've spent 5 years and it maybe hasn't gone your way, but something's telling you this is the roadblock, but I keep denying it. And your gut's trying to tell you. And also it could be another thing, like if your gut's telling you this is a great idea, definitely go with it. But I think the biggest thing is evaluating it. If you evaluate it and you are passionate about it, like say for example with the drone business, I identified the niche. I knew that I could offer a better service, a better price, more competitive, and I went for it. Challenge. And then I got there by working hard and taking all the feedback along the way and then achieving my goals. But I think the biggest thing is evaluate it, see if it's something that could be viable. If it is viable, try it, but don't be afraid to give up as well, because a lot of people like that invest too much time in it, where they could have then said, look, I'll try something else. No harm. There's no harm in trying something else, and don't feel like it's a failure, because you're still pursuing your end goal is where you want to be, the life that you want to live, your freedom, your flexibility. That's what you want to achieve in the end. So don't be getting hung up on, well, I have to make this specific business a success, because if this one doesn't work, then I've nothing. Always be thinking of something. Like say for example, like that with the drone business, I was like delving into the digital marketing, seeing if it was something that I could do. My background in graphic design, I identified it and said, okay, look, this is something I can do, and I can do it really, really well, and that's something I'm going to pursue. And then with the likes of my business and marketing coaching, with the years of experience that I have, I was like, okay, this is viable. I can do it. I can offer a good service, and I'm pursuing it. So I think it is. But like that, there's been plenty of times through the 3 years where I've thought of something else and I've explored it, and there's been a good few as well. So like I've explored those ideas and said, no, you know what, at the end of the day, this is probably going to be a roadblock, and I'm going to shelve that idea and work on ideas that I'm passionate about, that I know I can make a success. So definitely evaluate, see if you can be passionate and offer something that somebody can't, and do a better job than somebody, or a better product or service. You will definitely make a success of it. If not, make sure that you know it's okay to shelve that idea and move on to the next one.
I like that. That's amazing. Quick one. I need to plug in my laptop before it dies off. I'm gonna
okay, perfect. That's no worries.
Mark, thank you so much for that. Just the last question, I promise. I know I've kept you on for too long. The last
no problem.
Is,
it's a pleasure.
Talk about this digital marketing course, because I went to your profile and I saw it. And tell me what it's about, how beneficial it is to people, and how people can reach you if they're interested about it.
Yeah, so set up a digital marketing agency, which is called the Foxes Digital. So that's the name of the business. And what we offer is the likes of digital marketing services in the form of, logo design, brand identity, websites, content creation, social media management, a wide variety of, social media ads, all that sort of stuff. So anything in kind of the digital marketing space is what the Foxes Digital is going to offer. And then myself, I'm offering, it's going to be called Mark Fox Coaching, and I'm offering the likes of coaching services. So the likes of, if somebody has a business idea or growing their business, I will help them through, their journey. So yeah, that's basically what it is. So
and how do people reach you? Like, what's the quickest way to reach you? Is it just through Instagram? I can just put your Instagram handle here if that's the case.
Yeah, Instagram, Mark Fox Coaching. If you look at Mark Fox Coaching, and you'll be able to get me there on Instagram, and my website is in the bio. So you can reach me there, and that's probably the best place. Just drop me a DM if you have any questions.
Okay. Wow, Mark, guys, this was amazing. I don't know about you, but I have learned so much from just this conversation I've had with Mark. And Mark, I really thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's
No
this
problem.
lockdown period.
Yeah.
So at
Thanks
least
for having me. I really
I hope we
appreciate it.
can meet up for drinks at some stage.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I want to check out your boxing skills. If you still have them with you, I want
Yeah.
to check your boxing skills. So we can have a session at the ring.
Yeah. That sounds good.
So we can definitely have a session at the ring. But thank you so much. Is there any last thing you want to share? Anything else you wanna let the guys know?
Well, I hope everybody's staying safe. I suppose that's yeah. And thanks very much for having me on here. I really appreciate it, Tobe. So yeah, like it's great what you're doing. You know, sharing like other people's experiences and stories to help other entrepreneurs, you know, build their business or you know get any insight and you know because it's a journey where it can feel very you know isolated and lonely, yeah. So like sharing those experiences with people is amazing. So thanks very much for having me.
Really appreciate that. Okay, thank you guys. All right, take care and see you soon.